just trying to block me. Everything was going against the sanction bodies, going against everything that people sit and tolerate. I wasn't tolerating it, so it's kind of like the black sheep, like, he's the bad one, get him out of here, we don't need him.
Yeah. I think this is disgusting. I think this is musty at the highest level. Oh, Shakur Stevenson has been stripped.
Terence Crawford has finally broken his silence, and he didn't hold back. The boxing superstar took to Instagram with a post that shook the sport to its core, directly calling out the World Boxing Council. His message was sharp, deliberate, and laced with sarcasm, saying, "WBC ain't no way y'all still this mad. It's cool, bro. The ring belt was free." This wasn't just a casual post from a former champ trying to stay in the spotlight. It was Crawford stepping firmly into a conflict that has been simmering for months.
Makes you so motherfucking better than any other sanctioned bodies, huh? Answer that question. What makes you better than the WBO, the IBF, or the WBA? Everybody accepted what I was giving them. But you, the WBC, think that you better than everybody, don't you?
Crawford is defending his protege Shakur Stevenson against one of boxing's most powerful organizations. The tension between fighters and sanctioning bodies has been simmering for years. But this situation goes far beyond the usual gripes about politics or corruption. This is personal. It's about revenge, double standards, and a battle threatening to fracture the sport from within. What the WBC did to Stevenson mirrors what they did to Crawford just months earlier. And now the boxing world is starting to see the pattern. The question on everyone's mind is clear. Is this really about rules and regulations? Or is the WBC targeting fighters who dared to speak out? To understand why Crawford is so fired up, we have to go back to January 31st, 2026, the night Shakur Stevenson stepped into Madison Square Garden with everything on the line. The 28-year-old Newark native entered the ring to face Teofimo Lopez, a fighter known for his explosive power, blazing speed, and confidence that often came off as arrogance. Lopez, the WBO junior welterweight champion, was widely favored by analysts heading into the bout. Stevenson was highly skilled technically, but questions lingered about whether he had the power to compete with top talent at 140 pounds. Those doubts vanished just minutes after the opening bell. Shakur delivered a flawless performance, controlling nearly every round with a textbook display of boxing skill. His jab snapped Lopez's head back. His footwork made him nearly untouchable, and his ring intelligence was on full display as he outsmarted and outmaneuvered one of the division's most dangerous fighters. By the final bell, there was no question. Shakur Stevenson had claimed both the ring and WBO junior welterweight titles in one of the most complete showings of his career. More importantly, at just 28 years old, he became a four-time world champion, joining an elite list that includes Oscar de la Hoya, Floyd Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao, Canelo Alvarez, and Terence Crawford. The magnitude of that accomplishment cannot be overstated. Winning championships in 4 different weight classes is a true mark of greatness, reflecting skill, discipline, and the ability to adapt as your body evolves.
It was an amazing night. I put the work in. I stayed disciplined throughout my camp. I was in tremendous shape, and Tio, he's a hell of a fighter, but I was the better man tonight.
In the moments following his victory, Terence Crawford stood in the ring with Shakur, celebrating alongside his protege as the crowd erupted in cheers. The boxing world was electrified. Shakur Stevenson had reached the pinnacle of the sport, and his future seemed boundless, but that optimism came to an abrupt halt just days later. On February 4th, 2026, the WBC dropped a shocking announcement that left fans, analysts, and Shakur himself stunned. In an official statement, the WBC declared that Stevenson was being stripped of his lightweight title, effective immediately. The timing was ruthless. Shakur had just claimed the biggest win of his career, and before he could even savor it, One of his belts was suddenly taken from him.
That's right. Shakur Stevenson has been stripped of his WBC 135-pound belt, fresh off his absolute destruction and masterclass in ending Teofimo Lopez's career last Saturday night in Madison Square Garden with the beautiful display of boxing.
The explanation from the WBC sounded simple at first glance, according to their rules. A champion can't hold titles from other sanctioning bodies in different weight classes, especially if they don't hold the WBC belt in that division, since Shakur had just become the WBO junior welterweight champion. The WBC claimed he could no longer keep the lightweight title on paper. It seems reasonable. But there's a major issue most fighters in Shakur's situation are given time to decide when you move up in weight and win a new belt. Sanctioning bodies usually allow a grace period to determine which division you'll continue, and fans and analysts expected Shakur to have weeks, maybe months, to consider his options. Instead, the WBC acted immediately, stripping him just days after his win, as if they'd been waiting for the perfect moment to strike.
WBC has stripped him now of his 135-pound title because he won the WBO title at 140. Shakur Stevenson made it abundantly clear that he's a 135-pounder. He's going up in weight just for situational fights.
The Newark fighter didn't even get a chance to savor his victory before the rug was pulled out from under him. Shakur Stevenson isn't one to stay quiet when disrespected, and his response on social media was explosive. He took to X, formerly Twitter, and fired off a series of posts directly calling out the WBC. His main point was clear and damning. The WBC demanded $100,000 in sanctioning fees for a fight that had nothing to do with their belt. Shakur had faced Teofimo Lopez for the ring and WBO titles. The WBC lightweight strap wasn't on the line, and Lopez wasn't a WBC champion, yet the organization expected a six-figure payment simply because Shakur still held their lightweight title. In one tweet, he wrote, "$100K to some crooks who don't deserve it. Nah, Leilani, I'd rather give it to you, baby girl," referencing his daughter and making it clear where he felt the money should go. He didn't stop there, pointing out that the WBC had no role in the fight and that their bitterness over being left out was driving their actions. He stressed that this wasn't about rules. It was about the WBC punishing him for not involving them in one of the year's biggest matchups. Shakur strengthened his argument by reminding everyone that he had already paid the WBC after his previous fight, asking a simple question: why am I paying $100K again? He then directly connected the issue to a larger pattern, saying, "Because y'all got beef with Bud, so come at me for it," highlighting a history of questionable behavior from the WBC that had already affected top fighters. His final message was defiant and unapologetic: take your belt. It don't make me, making it clear that he doesn't need their validation. He remains a champion with or without the WBC.
The rush to do nothing. Can't give this dude a week to make a decision on what he wants to do next.
To understand why Shakur would call out the WBC for having issues with Bud, you have to go back a few months to one of the most talked about moments in recent boxing history. In September 2025, Terence Crawford achieved what many thought was impossible. He moved up to super middleweight and defeated Canelo Alvarez, the pound-for-pound king, becoming the undisputed champion at 168 pounds. This victory was historic, solidifying Crawford's status as one of the sport's all-time greats. He had claimed another weight class, dethroned one of boxing's biggest stars, and shown that his skill set was in a league of its own. The world was still digesting Crawford's achievement when, on December 25, 2025, the WBC dropped a bombshell. They announced that Crawford was being stripped of his WBC super middleweight title. The reason given was that Crawford owed $300,000 in sanctioning fees and had not paid. What unfolded next became legendary in boxing circles, highlighting a pattern of tension between elite fighters and the sanctioning body.
Him $300,000 plus another $100K something for sanction fees, right? Then he gonna tell me I ain't even apologize? Like, who the fuck you think I am? Well, you better slap your fucking self and paying your ass shit. Fuck you talking about pay you $300,000.
Crawford fired back with a video that went viral almost instantly. And he didn't hold anything back. Boy, you better check yourself. I'm not paying you guys, he said straight to the camera, his frustration impossible to miss. What are you even talking about? $300,000. His message was raw, unfiltered, and turned what could have been a simple financial disagreement into a full-blown conflict. WBC President Mauricio Suleiman attempted to justify the organization's stance in several interviews, outlining how the fees were calculated.
He did not comply with the rules. Then he moves up to super middle and makes the fight of the century, beats Canelo, makes $50 million or around that. The WBC absolutely is not going to charge 3% of such an amount. We made a very clear 0.6%, which is $300,000.
According to Suleiman, Crawford had made around $50 million from the Canelo fight, and the WBC's standard sanctioning fee would have been 3% of that purse. However, he claimed the organization had cut it down generously to just 0.6%, which worked out to $300,000. Of that amount, $225,000 was supposed to go to the Boxers Fund, a charity started by Suleiman's late father, Jose, to support fighters in need. While it might sound reasonable on paper, Crawford wasn't convinced, and his response highlighted a major flaw in the WBC's reasoning.
With $225,000 going to the Jose Sulaiman Boxers Fund, which is to help former fighters in need. And it is just regrettable. Not even a thank you or I'm sorry, taking a different route. No response. I wish him the best.
Every other major sanctioning body, the WBO, IBF, and WBA, had accepted payments Crawford offered without issue. They were satisfied with the amount he provided. So why was the WBC the only organization demanding more? Why did they believe they deserved a higher fee than everyone else? Crawford's question went unanswered, and his reaction turned into one of the most dramatic exits in boxing in years. Instead of continuing the fight with the WBC, Crawford announced his retirement. He walked away undefeated, a 5-division world champion, and the first fighter in the 4-belt era to become undisputed in 3 separate divisions.
If you've been taking your body through hell for 30 years, would you retire? All right then. So there go your answer. So that's why I retired. I gave my all to boxing, but I'm not going to give my health to boxing. If I was to come back, who would I fight? I'm asking you.
So say it's a good question.
All right, so there you go. There you go. I have nobody to fight. I have nothing to accomplish. So now I'm just coming back for the sport and just money.
It was a legacy nearly impossible to tarnish, but the WBC tried anyway. Social media erupted as fans and analysts started connecting the dots between what happened to Crawford and what was now happening to Shakur Stevenson. The pattern was glaring. Both were close friends and training partners, both stripped of their WBC titles within months, both caught up in sanctioning fee disputes, and both outspoken critics of the WBC. Suddenly, Shakur's claim that the WBC had beef with Bud and was coming after him gained serious traction. The timing was uncanny, the circumstances eerily similar. If you believe in coincidences, this was one hell of a coincidence. But if you believe powerful organizations sometimes wield their authority to punish challengers, what was happening to Shakur looked a lot like payback. One thing was undeniable. The WBC's credibility was taking a major hit, and the boxing world was watching every move.
You put Lamont Roach at number 2. Shakur says, okay, I'm willing to fight Lamont Roach. And you strip him? This is why these sanctioned bodies are a joke. Look how long Gervonta Tank Davis held the WBA title. It's a joke.
Fans began questioning whether the WBC cared about boxing at all, or if they were just protecting their bottom line and reputation. Terence Crawford, retired, but still deeply invested in the sport and in his protege Shakur Stevenson, had been watching quietly from the sidelines. For weeks, he let Shakur handle his own battle. But silence has its limits. Crawford reached that breaking point when he saw the WBC doing to Shakur exactly what they had done to him. Finally, he spoke. His Instagram post was a masterclass in calibrated defiance, mocking yet precise. WBC, ain't no way y'all are still this mad. It's cool, bro. The ring belt was free. That last line hit directly at the organization's obsession with sanctioning fees, sending a clear message without saying too much.
So since you, the WBC, and you got the fucking green belt, which don't mean fucking shit, fucking real belt is the ring belt, which is free, motherfucker. Who you talking about? You want me to pay you more than the other sanction bodies because you feel like you better than them. How in the world all the sanction bodies agreed to the same amount, but you sit your motherfucking ass up there and say that I need to apologize to you?
The Ring Magazine Championship, one of boxing's most prestigious titles, doesn't charge fighters a dime. You earn it purely through merit. Crawford's message was clear. Keep your expensive belts. The ones that actually matter don't cost anything. But his post wasn't just aimed at the WBC. It was a show of solidarity with Shakur Stevenson. By speaking out, Crawford told his protege, I see what they're doing to you, and I've got your back. He didn't just post once. He retweeted all of Shakur's messages, amplifying his voice for the entire boxing world to see. The subtext was unmistakable. The WBC, still bitter over Crawford refusing to pay them, was now taking it out on anyone associated with him. And the most telling part? WBC President Mauricio Sulaiman, who had been so vocal defending the organization during the Crawford dispute, remained completely silent in response to both fighters. No statement, no clarification, no defense, just radio silence. Meanwhile, as the drama between Crawford, Stevenson, and the WBC unfolded, an even bigger threat was emerging. UFC President Dana White, who had launched Zufa Boxing, a new promotional company promising no sanctioning fees and shaking up the combat sports landscape entirely.
Is there going to be a Zufa belt where like the winner of the Zufa belt has a springboard into like Riyadh season and a championship fight, a Ring Magazine fight?
You and I have never talked about this, but the answer is yes.
Right, of course.
What will happen?
Of course, yeah. Right.
There will be a Zufa belt, and then there will be a ring belt. And yes, I will not recognize any of the other sanctioning bodies.
Dana White had made it crystal clear in multiple interviews. If Zufa Boxing took over, he would eliminate sanctioning bodies entirely. His argument was straightforward and powerful. These organizations don't add value to the sport. They just take a chunk of fighters' purses. Fans who were fed up with seeing athletes pay hefty fees to bodies more focused on money than protection immediately resonated with his message. WBC President Mauricio Sulaiman tried to defend his organization on the Ariel Helwani show, but his responses came across as defensive and frankly out of touch, doing little to quiet the growing backlash from the boxing community.